Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. We are going to be looking at Todd McFarlane's entire Infinity Inc. Collection. Now, most of the time, I have these are actual scans from the issues. I have every single one of these issues, and I have the trade. And I will admit to you, I have never read them, but I wanted to go over them because I want to talk about the greatness of Todd McFarlane. This is very early Todd McFarlane work. Okay, so I'm just going to I'm not even going to narrate the story because I have no idea because I've never read it and I'm not about to, and that's not the point of this. So McFarlane does this cover, and you can already tell that this dude is going to be someone very special. So, um, we're gonna see a lot of stuff that he will employ, particularly in the panels here. That he's not using your traditional uh, panel grids, and I just don't understand why DC Comics didn't have the vision. Again, these are scans of the actual books. So look at this cape. He'd already started right off the bat with this character that sort of evokes Spawn in quite a sense here. So how DC Comics didn't have, they stuck him in Batman, or not stuck him, they gave him Batman Year 2 to complete. This is a great panel right here. But they let him go to Marvel. I just can't believe after what he'd done for them, or they'd seen him do, not that what he'd done for them again. Look at the cape. That they didn't have the vision to say, dude, don't go and do Spider-Man or Hulk at Marvel. Here's Batman, here's Superman, here's whatever. Now, there's a lot of pages here, so I am gonna move really fast. This is why I'm putting it in a just so that you can see the entire thing here. I do apologize if I'm going really fast, but at so many pages here, I just don't want this to turn into a huge long video here. So sorry, I had to fix it. So this one wasn't showing the way that I meant to here. So again, cover by McFarlane here. I can't even tell you what Infinity Inc. was about, but Todd McFarlane was definitely someone that was homegrown within DC Comics, but for some reason they opted to let him walk. I just don't understand when you have someone that you're seeing, and this is on editorialship. Did they not see what we? I mean, it's hard to say because hindsight is 2020, and Todd McFarlane is so and this is his early work. So I can understand in the beginning that you go, well, we'll see. But once you've seen him do Batman Year 2 and you've seen him do what was oh my gosh, he did oh my goodness gracious. The Invasion. He did the Invasion with and he even inked a couple of his pages. Look at this. This is just the shoulder with the cape thing. This is just fantastic. And they're like, nah, you can go to Marvel. Look at this. This is beautiful. This whole thing in here. It's just weird. It's weird what these companies go with and allow, or not allow, but they go with, or I don't know. They saw this guy be so different here, and Marvel, to their credit, saw what he did. Because when you look at Amazing Spider-Man 298 and 299, it really doesn't look all that great. So here is Todd McFarlane illustrating his own thing. So they introduced him here, and his love of baseball, because McFarlane is a big baseball guy. So, my goodness, these scans are inconsistent in size. I will see if I can fix this here. Let me go to the next page. Yep. So I will make them a little bit bigger. So looks like some of the scans. So I took the issues. Each one came on different issues, and I just combined them. So some of the issues are a bigger thing. Look at that. He fits the entire cape here. That people just weren't used to this, and just he only, it looks like McFarlane's only going to do the first 5 pages here, and I think maybe yeah, these, no, that's not him. So we're gonna move on from this other dude here and go back to Todd. I have, like I said, I have all these issues here. So again, Todd doesn't start this, so we will kind of move on and get back to Todd McFarlane here. So here we go. That's Todd. And this is actually a cool pose. How do you differentiate yourself from a running pose? And look at this, just erg. That's awesome. Todd McFarlane is so influential. To this day, and the guy doesn't even draw anymore because he's so busy with his toy empire and Spawn, which he used to do the look at this cape. Look at how his design work. God, so awesome. And he, he's got his Spawn that he doesn't really draw. I wish he would go back to drawing the covers. But he he's still so influential. Let's see if I can make this one a little bit bigger here. So when digital scans first came and started with, they would just actually scan the comic books, which I think is really cool. Um, but then, they started releasing the digital versions. But you lose some of this coloring here. Again, Todd McFarlane only doing the first few things, but this is just an amazing. Look at that. So let's see. Don't believe any of this is Todd, so we'll just kind of move it along here. I don't think these issues are unaffordable either. You can get these issues for $5 each. For some reason, his early work just, it doesn't. Nobody cares, and nobody cares about Infinity Inc. Heck, I own these issues and I never bothered reading them. So I don't know what to tell you. I have never read these issues. I've never read the trade paperback I bought just so I could have some of these early. See what I mean by inconsistent scanning? Some of these pages are a little bit bigger than the other ones. Look at this, how great Dr. Fate looks. I think they're talking about Crisis on Infinite Earth, which is when this would have sort of taken, I think. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you. But wow, it's just amazing. Or so early on, and you can see these McFarlaneisms. DC, what were you thinking? What were you thinking when you let this dude go to your biggest competitor, and then he just cements his legacy on Spider-Man? Wow. You got, again, hindsight is 2020, but you have someone who is going to be a huge influence. And I don't know. It's just weird how life turns out, and it goes to show you that even big corporations make mistakes. Yeah, this must have been had. They must have copied this entire issue. Bill Sienkiewicz. So, so much McFarlaneisms. And this comic book was done in a different paper. So this actually was more expensive to buy, and this I don't believe you could get this in the. This was exclusive to comic book stores. So, and like I said, this is still early McFarlane. So I mean, I understand that it isn't. Look at this. Don't tell me this isn't Spawn. And look at this. To do the enchantment thing and all that. This is so cool. His pencils actually, I don't think have changed all that much. It's his inking. Um, that's become more refined. Look at this. Look at this. This is so freaking cool. You can see he's starting to add the dashes here in his pencils that's being inked. Who knows what else wasn't being. And look at this. Look at the cape right here. Damn, that is awesome. So, oh, see, I didn't edit this one. I put it together into one thing here. Look at the. He is the king of the vertical panels. Something that he still does to this day. Man, oh man, DC saw this and let him go. Oh, but man, is it weird seeing these inks with somebody else? Just so look, it just wow. These illustrations and the way he's composing. If you notice, there's a figure in every single panel. Golly. One of his things, the side view panel, or the what would you call that? See, deluxe format is this what the Infinity Ink was. So when you look at these pencils, I don't think he's changed in his pencils, but his inking himself is quite different. So anyway, so when I took these issues and I just combined them. I didn't go and try to bother uh, to edit some of these his these extra pages out. So I just left them there. So and again, this isn't a very this video is just to show you his early art, and this is wonderful. This is just so awesome. His art style is just I can't believe they let him go to Marvel. Can you imagine how things would have been if somebody would have had the foresight to say, this dude, if one of the editors would have just said, this dude has something that not, look at this, awesome. This is a great panel here, a great pose there. Oh my goodness, nobody, look at these capes. No, oh my god. Editorial, whoever the editors were at, they should have stuck him in. And I understand they had John Byrne in Superman and all that, and this guy was new, and they gave all their Superman titles to, so Superman, John Byrne took over Superman, but then Adventures of Superman was Jerry Ordway, so they gave it to their more experienced guys. But I mean, oh my goodness gracious. McFarlane paid his dues in this title here. Good for Marvel for taking him away. So this was an answer to the one from um X-Men Heroes, also the Hunger one. They this is their this was DC's answer to it. And so they also had basically they copied the same formula. Look at these artists that were given this this book here. Pretty cool. Barry Windsor Smith, by the way, right there. Look at that. Love this. Very Marshall Rogerish. I have this. I have both these annuals, and Brian Boland does the cover here, and I think this is Dennis Cohen. But look, this is such a Marshall Rogers. This I when I bought this issue just for this freaking cover. I was like, this is so cool. I mean, you just it was so great to live during this era and have a newsstand. You didn't have to go to comic book stores. We didn't have too many comic book stores, with just a few here and there. But you could go to the supermarket and they'd have a spinner rack with comic books, and you just see these things. And I'm like, Mom, I want some. Just so freaking cool. And so continuing on here, look at this. This is so kick ass. That is so cool. Um, man, oh man, look at that. Oh my goodness gracious. We we can enjoy this and go, my God, what he's going to turn into is just amazing. Unfortunately, my biggest criticism of Todd McFarlane is that he was more concerned, and it's my criticism. It doesn't mean that it has to be yours, but he quit the drawing so he could concentrate on the business. He has a great business eye. So, but selfishly, I want him to draw these. This is just beautiful right here. I want him to draw. That's what I want. And unfortunately, we just don't get a lot of that anymore. We're lucky to get a cover from him every 6 months. Um, yeah, this is cool. So, that's probably my biggest. This is David Mazzucchelli, the thing for Batman Year One, and look at this, the Watchmen preview here. So this is what I mean. So they didn't put McFarlane in Superman because they give it to their experienced guys, but they should have. Um, Very disappointing that they couldn't find a higher profile work to put him. Like as soon as the editor would have seen this, I would have tried to put him somewhere else that had capes. Um, I would have maybe another, and then once you saw him ink himself the way you did in so he inked himself the in the second book of the invasion, and he also inked himself in the final book of oh my goodness, Batman Year 2. I don't know. I would have found something, but you know. But I say that now, but who knows? I see this and I just marvel at it. I'm just going, "Oh, this is so cool." I don't know. It's so different than anything else. And if it doesn't look as great, keep in mind, he'd only been doing this for a few years and somebody else is inking it. This is just spectacular. So that is just, you know, just a shame. But DC's uh DC's what? Marvel's gain, DC's so Todd McFarlane just does page 1 and 27. So Todd McFarlane does this page, some other jobber does those here, and McFarlane then does this one here. Very cool. So, oh yeah, you can definitely see Mary Jane there. Too bad. I just too bad for DC. Not too bad for McFarlane. McFarlane did very well for himself. So, kudos for him for having the foresight, for having the he bet on himself and he did it. And Marvel, to their credit, let it. Look at this. This is just so freaking cool. Again, no idea what the story is because I have never read them, and I really don't care. These are characters I don't care anything about. This is just simply. In fact, had Todd McFarlane not drawn these, I never would have picked these up here. So maybe McFarlane was too cartoony. That that could very well be if you take a look. I mean, look right there. I mean, maybe McFarlane was too cartoony for what they wanted with um Superman, perhaps, where they were like, no, we don't want to do this. But my God, it's just awesome. Look at these capes. He really went to town. I think this dude needs to add more characters with capes. Go to a thing and just find some. Oh my God, he does the best capes. He should have an issue where Spawn fights somebody else that has a cape and he goes in there. This actually reminds me of what will happen in Hulk. Amazing. Just so cool. Wow. The capes are just wow. So we're approaching our final issue here, I believe. So this is it. Not bad. Should be under 30 minutes for this whole video here. So Todd McFarlane in the early works. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me? DC should have had the hindsight to, or the foresight. Sorry, not the hindsight. The foresight to find a way to keep him. Um, versus letting him go to Marvel. Um, where would you have put him? Keep in mind John Byrne and Jerry Ordway. And the reason I didn't say things like Flash, so this is it. This that's the end of McFarlane's run on Infinity Inc. Flash, for example, so Green Lantern, but they don't have capes. Selfishly, I don't know if I would have done that, but perhaps I don't know. I would have stuck him on anything. Um, I mean, when you look at Batman though, they had Jim Starlin and Jim Aparo, and Detective Comics they had Alan Davis, then they had Norm Brayfogle, but I think would have had. I like Norm Brayfogle, by the way. This is no disrespect to Norm Brayfogle, but I would have put McFarlane on Detective Comics, or I would have just given him Batman and stuck Jim Aparo somewhere else. I mean, I don't know. I would have put him on Batman, and then when he became a superstar, I would have just said, "Name your book, Todd." So anyway, thought I would share with you the early works here of Todd McFarlane. I've already covered Infinity. I'm sorry, not Infinity Inc. The Invasion, the two pages with McFarlane here. Now I have covered the Invasion books. He only did two and a half of the books. He didn't do the entire thing because I think he was in Marvel at that time. But look at this, just the evolution of his art. So they stick him in this book. You can see his style has already he's being inked by somebody else. So this is not him inking himself. He has inker in these parts, but you can already see that he is starting to put more and more and more and more on his pencils, eventually leading to him inking himself. And there is a panel here where, or a page here, a page. Sorry, there's a chapter here where he will ink himself. But I don't know. You see this and you still let him go to Marvel. I don't know. I don't know. Bad on DC Comics. So again, I'm going super fast on this, just kind of showing you guys that that evolution from Infinity Inc. to this, more consistent with what we are known. As I mentioned, I already have this book covered in um, in a Todd McFarlane playlist. So I go slower so you can see the art here. And so he does these are the only last two chapters that he does for this book. And look at this oh my god, this is just wonderful. This is so cool. And yeah, and that was it. And then he just did Batman year, and then he just did Batman year 3, and that was it for DC Comics. So, and I think this is the one that he inks himself. So, we've seen this, and again, I think maybe his style was too cartoony. But I don't know. People loved it. So, Bart Sears ended up completing the other. So this was it. So essentially, in a nutshell, this is all of his DC work, which apparently was not good enough to keep him on DC. So, or maybe Marvel made him an offer he couldn't refuse. So DC Comics should have kept him. That's all I gotta say. So, like and subscribe. I do thank you so much for listening to me talk about one of the greatest artists of all time. Of all time. Period. He doesn't have a lot of the work, perhaps, because most of the drawings he did came in the 80s, in the mid 80s to early 90s. And then the dude just turned into an inker and a cover artist, and that's been about it. So he doesn't have necessarily the like John Byrne, for example, the insights that where he does a lot of the issues inside. But this dude, one of the greatest of all time. Thanks so much for listening. Goodbye.